Yeah, I won't spend too long on this because it was dealt with very comprehensively at the committee. What the proposers failed to say is that there's a lot of girls, children under 16, whose parents don't support them, whose father rapes them, leading to them being pregnant, for example. And essentially what you'd be doing is opening up the way for the rapist to have a veto over this girl's right to have an abortion. And we went through this in detail at the committee. These are not unusual situations, unfortunately, Count Corler. They're very common, actually more common than they actually should be, and are frequently in the news. Not every parent is supportive, and that's the point. I just want to make a general point about this debate. The main object of this group of motions, if you like, from people who are anti-choice, who are anti-abortion, is to stop people having abortions. And if they go ahead and have abortions, to make it as, difficult for them as they possibly can. Like, they're using words like consent, like support, like information. But I have to report and put on the record of this Dáil that as we start this debate tonight, a group of doctors, the START group of doctors, who were holding a training and education event in Limerick today, had to change to a secret venue due to the harassment by anti-choicers that took place, ringing the local hospital and threatening if they went ahead with their training and education. And can I just say, doctors are entitled to discuss how they'll provide this service. That those who want to are allowed to meet in groups and discuss that. But obviously, some people who lost out in the nationwide debate that we had over a whole period of time aren't willing to accept that and are continuing on with their old methods of harassment, abuse and intimidation. But just to say that that meeting did go ahead tonight in a secret location due to people who don't stand for support, consent and information, but the meeting went ahead. And this kind of, reminds me of the Taliban attacking women's education. It just reminds me of, those horrific methods being used in this country after the population delivered a resounding support for the right of people to have this information. And some people coming up here spending nights on end with this kind of drivel and just won't accept it. And I think their methods have been borne out by the information I got from doctors there in Limerick today, last Count Corla. So just to say the doctors won't be prevented, those who want to recognise a woman's right to make this decision and to recognise the huge mandate that people of this country gave, they're entitled to meet without being harassed by the usual suspects. And I really think that that's important. And I don't know if you realise how dangerous it is for people not to have information and doctors not to be able to get training. I just also want to say something about what happened on Sunday, because again I've spoken to a lot of doctors about this. We keep hearing from the anti-choice TDs about all the doctors they speak to. Well, we speak to doctors too, and the feeling of the doctors that I spoke to was that there are many doctors will be providing this service, and I think we need to send out a message of encouragement to a lot of women who are worried in this country right now with what they're hearing in here for the last few nights, that there is a whole number of doctors who are willing and able to provide this service come January. And obviously the media, can't resist a row and reported the events of the weekend, but there are enough people who are committed to providing this, and it will happen. Now, what I would say, though, Minister, is this. You need to move might and main to see that training does take place for doctors, because they are entitled to that. And you need to move might and main to see that there is also accessibility to ultrasound facilities in areas where it is needed. That is a genuine fear that a lot of doctors would have, that they may have somebody who does require that. Of course it shouldn't be and isn't required in every situation. But at the moment I understand Avidia, which is a private X-ray company, which is located in certain areas, but it wouldn't have the reach that would necessarily be required. And you need to look and move very quickly over the next few weeks to ensure that that happens. Can I also ask, Minister, that you will give a commitment that there will be heavy advertising of the 24-hour helpline, because it's very clear that some people don't want people to have information and don't want women and pregnant people to have access to these services despite the huge vote. And it's very important in that sense then that people who may be in isolated areas are very vulnerable people. And you know, this is what is so annoying. The people who are going to suffer from this are going to be very vulnerable women and girls. Like the people that you're allegedly caring about tonight, it's very likely to be very young people, possibly in direct provision, possibly afraid, possibly have been sexually abused or raped. Well, technically anyone under 16 has been in any case. But I think that it is absolutely vital, Minister, that you see that those things are, but I know that there's at least 100, 120 or lots more, for example, in the START group alone, but there's loads of other average GPs who will provide this because they know they're dealing with this every day in any case. It's not like it's an alien concept to them. They're dealing with women coming into them who are pregnant and who are in crisis, and they want to be able to help them, not shift them away. And as long as the pathways are put in place, this service will go ahead in January, and it's vital that it does, and it's vital that that is made known to women and girls and pregnant people who are out there. And despite the best efforts of the so-called caring TDs putting these time-wasting amendments that they know won't get any support, they just want to delay this happening, but you're not going to succeed.